See you all. There we go. Everyone got that? We're recording the meeting. Tracy will put it up on the REAPiT database for those people who can't be part of the meeting, or if you want to review it. So good to see everyone. There are a couple of new faces on the screen, so just a quick round of intro, and then we'll crack on into it. So starting on my left is Tracy Graham. So Tracy, go for it.
Okay, so kia ora everyone. I'm Tracy Graham, which many of you will know, but there are a few new faces that won't know. So I work here at REAPiT Wairarapa. I'm the ACE and the community team leader now, responsible for all the adult education opportunities, I guess you'd say. But I also am currently the REAPiT guru, so I'm the go-to person for anything REAPiT. We're currently training a new girl, Abby, which is great.
Yeah, so note the REAPiT guru label.
Yeah.
Please note that. So that's Tracy Graham, not Tracy Shepherd. Just being really clear about that. Okay, thank you. Right, that crew from Tararua, would you like to introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm recently come into a role. What's the new role called?
She's part of the education team.
Yeah, part of the education team. But I'll be doing a lot of stuff around REAPiT and everything there. So it's important that I'm here. Hi, I'm Shelley. I'm the ACE coordinator here.
I'm Caroline and I'm the education manager here.
I'm Elaine Riley. I am the
general
manager. I started yesterday and I'm overlapping with Claire, the existing GM, until Wednesday, when she finishes after her GM tomorrow.
The reporting. Thank you, team. Amanda and Ruth, shoot.
Kia ora, Mandy Greer, Education Coordinator at Central Otago REAP, ECE in schools. And I'm Ruth, and I'm from admin.
Thank you. Central Plateau.
Joining us also, you'll see to her shortly.
Thanks. Central Plateau, Joss.
Kia ora, Joss Smoyle, Schools Coordinator for Central Plateau REAP.
And kia ora, I'm Babe Burcock. I'm the playgroup facilitator for REAP. Yeah, yeah.
And apologies for the dog barking in the background if you can hear him. Okay, that's from me, not from Central Plateau, by the way.
No, we've got a first aid course in the background, so you might hear some humping and grunting.
Good to know. Thank you. Central King Country crew.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Jenny Garworth, Education Manager here at REAP, and have also the prime responsibility for early childhood and schools. Introducing my two colleagues.
Kia ora, I'm Pamela Goodall. I assist Hiraina Tarawa in the ACE community space. So yeah, here today to learn a bit more about REAPiT.
Kia ora, I'm Laura O'Shaughnessy and I have a few roles here at REAP and I do a fair bit of REAPiT and POSH.
Great, thank you. Bernie, nice to see you back on deck. And you're on mute.
Hi everyone, I'm manager Central Otago REAP and I also see Lucy is there. Lucy, do you want to say hello?
Kia ora koutou, I'm Lucy Frankie. I'm the Enviro Schools facilitator for Central Otago REAP.
Thank you. Alison.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Alison Woolard and I'm the education manager at REAPiT Wairarapa in Masterton.
Thanks. Kylie.
Kia ora koutou, my name is Kylie. I am new to the Far North teams. I've been there for 6 months in the early childhood education role.
Thank you. West REAP.
Kia ora. How are you guys? It's Linda here from West REAP, of course. I'm the ACE organiser this week. Next week I'm doing more of a sidestep into doing all the data entry role, admin support again, and doing REAPiT is going to be my big thing, I guess. So, and I'd like to introduce you to Lisa, who's our new early childhood team leader. So say hello, Lisa.
Kia ora. I have been in the role a couple of weeks and wow.
And you're still there. That's always very positive.
We're trying to encourage you to be here a long time.
Cool. Thank you. Nice to meet you. All right. That motley crew from Wairarapa who are clearly drinking already. I can see that, Jude Mitchell. Yeah. It's not coffee, I don't know.
Kia ora, I'm Jude, I'm early childhood leader here.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Abby Hayton and I'm the Quality Assurance Officer here.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Shirley Jones and I'm playgroup support, early childhood. Yeah.
Sweet, thank you, team. And last but by no means at all least, our Southern gals.
Kia ora team, welcome. My name's Kate McRae. I'm part of the team down in the south. Hey Jude. And I look after the schools and early childhood teams, but these guys do the work.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Marie Day, I'm early childhood coordinator. And hey, I'm Tash and I'm the admin support for schools and early childhood.
Great, thank you everyone. And Elaine, I think you still win for being the most recent acquisition of a REAP. Yeah. Well, good. So, hey, thank you all for taking the time to join this Zoe. It's to talk about some changes that we've made to REAPiT, and I'll talk about the why we've made those changes. And I'll start with the why. Please feel free to interrupt. If you have a question, just raise your hand using the reactions down at the bottom. I should be able to pick that up. If I don't pick it up, Tracy Graham will definitely pick it up and tell me. Or use the chat function as well if you want to ask any questions within chat, which I know Tracy Graham will be keeping an eye on because I probably wouldn't be. Anyhow, let's crack into it. So why? You'll all remember from your Ministry of Education reporting that you've done in the past that we have these things called learning support outcomes or LSOs. And Elaine, you'll learn a whole other language working for a REAP. It's called Bureau Speak. So LSOs, learning support outcomes. And I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about, if I can get it right. Right, I can share my screen, that, and I've picked on Wairarapa because I can. No other reason. Anyhow, so Wairarapa, this is the integrated investment plan. So I'm sure you've all read and you're very familiar with your integrated investment plans, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, see lots of nodding heads. Anyhow, so everyone submitted, every REAP I should say, submitted an integrated investment plan for the period 2023 to 2026. And that was basically, this is the look forward for the next 3 to 4 years of what you're doing, especially in relation to meeting government priorities. So I'm not going to go through the plan in depth. I'm just going to highlight a few parts for you so you can see what the heck I'm on about. So within the integrated investment plan, here's the information about REAPs and the role of REAPs in Aotearoa. I'm not going to go into that. You guys know this stuff. Or if you don't know it now, you certainly will be becoming familiar with this as you go through your REAP journey. Within the plan, though, there is a section about, sorry, I'm just skipping past this, but about our government priorities. And our government priorities in relation to our Ministry of Education work relates back to the National Education and Learning Priorities, which was published a few years ago by the government. So the NELP, so that's the next acronym that you'll learn about. Within the NELP, it talks about what are the important objectives for education. And it's about helping children and young people attain their educational potential, preparing them to participate in civic community and community life and for work, promoting resilience, determination, confidence, creative and critical thinking, good social skills, and the ability to form good relationships, and helping children and young people to appreciate diversity, inclusion, and te tiriti o waitangi. So that's sort of our guiding document for all of our work that we do in relation to our Ministry of Education contract. Within that contract, we have these things that the ministry have identified as being important, and they're those learning support outcomes, or the LSOs: presence, participation and engagement, well-being, and progression and achievement. Now, for some of you guys that have been around for a wee while, you'll know that your Ministry of Education reports that you've sent me have all talked about what your regional priorities are, and then also how the activities that you do relate to those regional priorities and these learning support outcomes. Does that sound familiar to you guys? Yep, a few nods. Yeah, oh, and a big thumbs up from Southern, thank you. Right, I won't go into the tertiary education strategy stuff because that's more in relation to our community education work. But just so you know, our ACE work is governed by this space as well. So there is the thing called the tertiary education strategy. It does sit within this NELP document if you're interested in having a look. Elaine, I'm going to test you on this later, so you better be, you know, absorbing all of this. Okay, so as part of your integrated investment plan, you were asked to do a number of things. So for early childhood in schools, you were asked to identify your regional priorities. And in the case of Wairarapa, they've identified, I think it's 3 regional priorities: foundation learning and oral language, whānau tamariki engagement and participation in early childhood education, and successful transition to school. And this is in the early childhood space. So they're the regional priorities. And then part of the document was also to look at some examples of some planned activities and how they relate back to your regional priorities and the learning support outcomes. And you'll see that this is what Wairarapa have done here in relation to their foundation learning and oral language regional priority. Right, does this sound familiar? Nothing unusual about this? Yeah, cool. This exercise was repeated for schools. So for schools, regional priorities and for Wairarapa is successful school transitions and pathways established, opportunities available to those based in more rural areas, and that's in rural schools, and support for Māori and Pacifica learners, and accessibility to professional learning and development for teachers. So they're the 4 regional priorities that REAP Wairarapa have identified. And of course, here's some examples of the activities that they're planning to do to meet those regional priorities. Okay, so that's the integrated investment plan. What we are now doing is, instead of you writing up all of the, good grief, sorry, I will unshare my screen and need to reshare it again because I've mucked up. Instead of you writing up your reports where you talk about we did this activity, it relates to these LSOs and these regional priorities, we've now implemented a change within REAPiT that will allow you to do that straight into the database. Right, sharing my screen again. Before I go on, does anyone have any questions about the stuff I've just blared on about? Nope.
Yep, I do,
Yep,
Trace.
Sorry, yeah, sorry, they didn't see that. Yeah.
We haven't been using REAPiT for early childhood in schools, only for ACE.
Yeah, aware of that. Every REAP for 2023 onwards, every REAP should be or needs to be using REAPiT for early childhood schools and ACE. All right, so that's and if you guys need some specific support around that, Jenny, more than happy to help you with that. As is Tracy Graham. Hey, Trace. Yeah. So this is for some of you that haven't been using it much or at all for the early childhood and school space, this year you need to be starting to engage with it. So in REAPiT, we've identified a range of a way in which you can connect the activities that you do to those regional priorities and the learning support outcomes. Now, I just want to, I'm just going to flick around this a bit. So you might go, bloody hell, what? I'm not going to remember this, but I'll just show you some stuff within here, then you'll see how it all starts to fit together. In your preferences as a REAP, you'll see a new tab here called regional priorities. Everyone see that okay? Yeah. This is where you get to list those regional priorities that you've identified in your integrated investment plan. And this is something I prepared earlier. This is a REAP called test. So in test REAP, the regional priorities that were identified were around employability skills, digital literacy, oral language development for under 3s, transition to school, transition to work, te reo Māori language development, and te reo Māori tikanga. Now, these are just some examples of things that are pulled out of various integrated investment plans, but you'll see some of the stuff you'll be familiar with, right? So some of these things will probably be within your regional priorities anyway. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay, so that's in the preferences part. Yes, Joss, you're on mute, love.
Thank you. When I went in earlier to try and add the regional priorities, I didn't have that that box on my access to REAPiT, so I had to get Linda to do it because only a few people have got access to that.
Yeah, it's part of your superpowers. So that may well be the case within your REAP. Only the administrators, is that right, Tracy?
That's correct.
Are able to do that. Now, in saying that, it should be a pretty straightforward thing for them to be doing. It should be a literal cut and paste into REAPiT.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's a bit of a clunky process where, you know, like we're supposed to be entering our own data and being responsible for that, and then I have to take it to, you know, like a workmate to do it for me. I don't really understand why, if I can access some of it, I can't access all of it.
Yeah, and I noted, Jocelyn, yeah, we get that. This is just part of a setup process. So once it's set up, it's set up. So you don't need to do it on an ongoing basis unless these regional priorities do change. And then they just need to be updated. Yeah, but thanks for that. We appreciate some of the limitations.
And I just had another a question in the chat about how many priorities can add. Up until yesterday, you could only add 8, which wasn't working. So now you can add as many as you like.
Yeah, so we've expanded that. And I think, Ruth, you might have identified that as a bit of a challenge previously. So yeah, you can do more than 8 now. There is something to be said though for the number of regional priorities that you do have. You know, that's something you need to consider. If you've got lots of them, are you able to meet all of those priorities, or are you able to do something towards all of those priorities? So that's just a question, an internal question for your REAP as to how you might deal with that. So in my view, less is more. And the higher level they are, the easier they are to actually relate back to what you're actually doing. But I'll leave that with you,
Tracy.
Yes, Kate.
Are you then saying that even though we may have put 8 priorities in our investment plan because that's what we got off our MOE website, that we could identify 4 to put into REAPiT that we were going to cater to?
Yeah, because I mean, in reality, if you think about what Ministry put up on their website, are you likely to be able to do stuff towards meeting all of those priorities?
Just do the ones okay, spread it.
Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. Right. Okay, so going back to test REAP, we've established in test REAP some activities which I will show you. And if I look at this particular one, music and singing, it's in the early childhood sector. I'll bring this up. Right. So this is an music and singing activity over on a particular day. It was 2 hours. It's in the early childhood sector, and it's in relation to oral language development. When I look at my targets, you can see it's activities primarily for children. So this is nothing new to you guys, but you'll see down here, there's some regional priorities that particular activity relates to. Oral language development for under 3s, and you'll remember that from the regional priority screen I just showed you. In terms of how that then relates back to our LSOs, Test REAP has said that this is a participation and engagement connection, and there's a progress and achievement connection. So the LSOs will pop up, an opportunity for LSOs will pop up automatically, and I'll just do a wee demonstration. Hopefully this works. So this is oral language development. So you see I've added it in here, and I'll just click on here, and this might link to presence as well. So what you're doing is you're saying that this particular initiative of music and singing relates to this regional priority or these regional priorities. So it might relate to more than one. And here are the LSOs that they relate back to as well. So you remember you do that in your reporting, you do it manually. You say this activity relates to these LSOs and these regional priorities. You're now able to do it completely within REAPiT rather than doing it manually. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yes, Kate.
Tracy, so that's awesome. So when we set up a class, this doesn't happen as part of that initial setting up of the class. We then go into that target tab and put these in, correct?
Yeah, so I'll demonstrate.
Yeah, so if we're doing that, and is at some stage there going to be some kind of alert to say, you haven't linked this activity to a regional priority in LSO, so that we make sure we do it? Just
yeah, that's a good question. Tracy, do you know the answer to that? Because I don't know the answer to that, if it automatically lets you know that you haven't done it.
As far as I know at the moment, it doesn't, but good question. And on the question of when you're setting up an activity, would you like it to be optional to add it then when you're first setting up an activity?
Definitely.
Yeah, seeing lots of nodding.
Okay,
right, so I'll
just while we're here, Abby, do you just want to wave to everyone? So Abby will be the, as I said, the new REAPiT guru, and she will be the person working with Desiree to make that stuff happen. So it's good to have her on here today, and she'll be able to make this stuff happen.
Right, so I'll just demonstrate setting up a new activity. Go like that. This activity is about transition to employment. So this is a schools activity. It's a group, so there'll be like 100 kids turn up. I'm going to start it as of today and I'll finish it as of today. The type is school. Some of these fields don't work for me, but they work for you guys. So just ignore when you see that sort of rubbish. I'm going to say it's trainer test is responsible and it's say 4 hours. Okay, so I can move on. Hopefully it works. Then I have to pick a target. So this, you guys will be familiar with this, right? So when you're setting something up, you'll see this. So this is activities primarily for children, right? So I've selected that. And I'm going to say there might be 10 people turn up. When I go to my target screen, there it is automatically. So it's already set up in my targets. Now I need to link it to my regional priorities. So I click on this box and it gives me the regional priorities that I'd already set up previously. And this is youth transition to work. So I'm going to stick that in there. And then I'm going to go, okay, what LSOs does this relate to? So this is about progress and achievement. But I also think it might be about well-being, for example. And there you go. So I've set that up. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy, right? So once it's in the system, it's there, you do it. And it's already, I suppose my message is, even though it might be relating to one regional priority, you can have multiple LSOs. Likewise, you can have multiple regional priorities relating back to a single LSO. So you basically just duplicate each on each side. Does that make sense? Yeah. Nobody's gone to sleep. Oh, Bernie might have gone to sleep, I think, because she's turned the camera off. She might be bored. No, just joking. But yeah, look, if you're going, good grief, that's a lot to remember. It's once you start doing it, it's really straightforward, and you should be able to just go bang, 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 and set it up like that really easily. Right.
So I have a question. As I'm working through the courses I've already got in REAPiT, is there a report that I can print out so that I can sit down with my education manager and go through them?
So what sort of report would you be looking for?
The name of the course, the targets, regional priorities, and LSO.
Right, so you won't have, unless you've put the regional priorities into REAPiT already, you won't have that information yet. So you need to do that. The LSOs and the test stuff are already in there. Now I do that when I set up the annual contract connections for you guys each year. So I'll just show you what I mean with that one. I'll just need to relog in. Oops, that's not how you spell that. Right, so this is in my REAP Aotearoa area now. So in here, there's this thing called global settings, and you'll see in here, hopefully you can see that. Okay, I'll just move this out of the way. There's the learning support outcomes I've entered. And there's the tertiary education strategy priorities, which I've also entered. So I do that stuff. You guys don't need to worry about that. I set it up. And then when you start linking your activities to your REAP Aotearoa core contract, these will automatically be available to you in that target screen that you then have to link your regional priorities to. So in answer to your question, Shelley, I think that you won't get a list of your regional priorities. The LSOs and the test stuff is available, but I don't think it prints out in any sort of report at the moment. It's something we could look into. Abby? Yeah. You still on mute, Abby?
Yeah, definitely something that since our Zoom with the ACE guys last week I've been thinking about. So it's just understanding what each rep's needs are and how you guys want to view that information. So sorry, was it Shelley that talked about the reports?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so like you talked about wanting to see the name, the targets, the regional priorities and LSO. So if we get an understanding of the type of report you guys want to see and the information you want to see in that, then we can definitely go to Desiree and the team and ask them to create a report that can pull that information in, because that's what this is all about, information going in. We want it to be easy for you guys to pull it out and use it at your end. So definitely what we want to achieve.
It sounds a lot easier than having to go through course one by one at a time to take somebody through it first.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yes, absolutely. So that that'll be something like high on my priority, is understanding what everybody wants to see out so that we can make sure that we get a report built so that at the click of the button, that information will pull through to you guys, and it makes it worthwhile for you guys putting the time and effort into putting this information in.
Yeah, I'd also say get hold of a copy of your REAP's integrated investment plan, because you'll have that information in front of you in terms of what your regional priorities are, and also listed within the plans in that in the government priorities section of the plan. It says what the LSOs and what the TEST priorities are. I also did send something out to the ACE coordinators last week to explain what the TEST priorities are in a bit more depth as well. So that's available as well. Yeah, Joss.
So I'm assuming that once this is all set up and going, which it seems to be for lots of people, that we will no longer receive a template halfway through the year and at the end of the year to enter all our data in for our reporting.
Well, I never say never, Joss. Never say never. The intention is absolutely no. You won't need to do that at this stage. That's our intention. However, it's going to depend on what the reporting throws out of REAPiT, and also it will depend on the quality of the information going into REAPiT from you guys as well. So my intention is that no, I won't be bugging you each year for all of that information and everyone's going, yay. But it may be from time to time I will ask you for some more specific information. Sorry, Amanda and Ruth, I see you got your hand up, but I'll come to you shortly. I just wanted to also show you, and I'm hoping this works. Where am I? I'll try this one. In the evaluation screen, here we are, you'll see there's a new box called narrative. I click on that. This is where you write up some of that qualitative information that you've been giving me in your reports. Abby sent a document out about that the other day. And there were a couple of questions posed that you need to follow when you're writing this up. Now, this is a little bit loose at the moment because we are undertaking a piece of work on developing a framework for you guys to actually start reporting the good qualitative stuff. So we're not there yet. So in the meantime, we're asking you to talk about what was it you were trying to achieve with this particular initiative, and what were the outcomes you did achieve with this particular initiative. And it's narrative type information rather than numbers. So that's a new piece within REAPiT as well. That's in the evaluation page.
What you did achieve.
And you should be able to just jot down some of that stuff. And it doesn't need to be masses and masses of information. It could be, okay, youth learner license, the outcomes we were looking for was to support students to gain their learner's license, ready to sit their restricted license, to understand the road rules and to therefore be safer drivers when they come to that point. And then the outcomes achieved would be of the 10 young people that turned up, 8 actually have achieved their learner license. This means that they can now progress on into driving lessons towards achieving their restricted license. It's that sort of information. It doesn't need to be spreads and spreads. What I'll be able to do with that is when I pull my reports each time, I'll be able to look at this stuff and go, oh, I'm really interested in seeing a bit more of information about that particular initiative. And I'll go back to the REAP consent and say, can you tell me a bit more of information about that? What, how successful was it? How do you know that you've achieved the outcomes that you're intending? The reason I do that is because I use that information when I'm not only reporting to the Ministry of Education, but when I'm trying to get other stakeholders and decision makers updated about what we're doing and the value that REAPs are adding in their community. So the information is not just used for MOE. I use it in a range of different ways. And it's about making sure we can, hand on heart, say, as REAPs, we make a big difference in our community, and our communities are better off because we exist. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it's not, I don't ask for it just because it's a nice thing to do. I use the information. I use it heaps. And trawling through all of those reports, that takes a lot of time and effort. I know that you guys have to put a lot of time and effort into producing them in the first instance. So we're just trying to make it a bit easier and having all the information in one place that's accessible. Amanda, Ruth, yeah, hand up.
Thank you. Just a wee question in regard to initiatives and targets. So if, for an example, we have our pepe groups, which we count the children and the whānau, do we have to set that up as 2 initiatives, or is there a checkbox that we can go, that's X amount is whānau, X amount is children?
Tracy?
No, at the moment, there's no option to kind of cross-pollinate across sectors. At the moment, you have to put them in separate activities for each sector.
Okay, so we'll have the same initiative, but 2, it will be inputting it twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're purely just doing an initiative that it is for children, but you had whānau attend and participate, but the primary reason for the initiative was children, you just report the participation, don't you, Trace?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Just see if I can.
Can I add to that?
What was that? Sorry.
I can add to that. So
By all
an
means.
example, Mandy, is you do a playgroup visit.
Yep.
Primarily for children.
Yep.
Right, but you put the page that she's on now. You still put the stats in there.
Okay. Okay.
So total number it could be 20. And then there's 18 students and 2 educators or whānau, whatever.
Okay, that will pull that through. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Now that's for those group programs.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's an enrolled program, that throws up that other screen that I had up before with all of the gender and ethnicity, age range, all of that sort of thing. So for if it's a pepe program and it's primarily for kids, then it's all the numbers sit in here, but family turned up, so you put the numbers in there.
Fabulous. Thank you.
If you were doing something for the young people and then something separate for the family, then you would need to set it up as 2 separate things. Yeah.
It's like a program within.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Shirley Jones, are you asking a question? No. Right. So are you guys ready for your test on this? Oh, I think you're all laughing. You think I'm joking. I am. Look, does this make sense to everyone? Yeah. You will need to go back and retrospectively do this for all of 2022 and 2023. No, I'm joking. Ha, Joss. Look on your face was classic. Yeah, but you will need to do it for 2023. So anything you've done year to date, you'll need to go back, link those regional priorities and those LSOs into it. And it's, yes, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. Once it's done, it's done. And then from this point forward, you'll be able to just automatically do it as part of setting up a new program. So the painful part about having to go back and retrospectively do the stuff from the earlier part of this year is if you've already got them as completed, you're going to have to make them approved so you can then go in and make the changes. So I apologise for that. It is what it is. There's no workaround for that, sorry. Make sense? Yeah, the reporting stuff, we're still working through what that might look like. I know what I want to see. What I want to see versus what I get could be completely different. So that's something I'm working on with the developer. And yeah, hopefully it'll be providing everything we need, so I don't need to bug you at all. But happy to take any calls from you, answer any questions you might have, do some one-on-one with you, whatever, just let me know. I think they're all stunned, Tracy.
I think so.
Can I just say something? So on last Thursday, I sent out to all, and hopefully this information will get passed out to you guys, but I sent it out to all REAPs, and it's the information around what Tracy Shepherd is wanting to see in that narrative report. So that gets sent to, I had a list of REAPiT managers or the managers from each of the REAPs. So that got sent to them. So hopefully that information has come out to you guys, but maybe not. Yeah,
I'll have what I might do, Abby, is I'll pick up your email, then I'll forward it to my email groups with that have got all of the coordinators' names attached to them. So we should be able to get it to everyone. But if you don't get it, just holler out and we can get that information to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy.
Cool. And Selena's just asked if this recording is going to be made available. So yes, it is. We've got a REAPiT website where all the training videos are. And there's now a new tab in there that says webinars. So all of these webinars are going up there. So also the one we did last year for the ECE stuff as well. So if people have missed out, they can go back and revisit it.
Can we recirculate that link, Tracy, please?
Yes, we can.
Thanks.
Right. Anything from anyone else?
No, I think you're right, Tracy. I've been a real sort of slow starter with this because it all looked like too much hard work. But I sat down with Linda today and did some, and it was surprisingly easy. And yeah, thank you for taking us through it. And I'm sorry for being so tardy.
That's all good, Joss. It's like anything. It's when you're really, really busy, and I know you guys are, it's just like, oh God, it's one more thing that we've got on our plates. And yeah, I understand it's just like one more thing, but once you get it in there, it's done. And then going forward, if you think about the amount of hours that you spend doing your reports, hopefully you're no longer needing to do that. Hopefully. No guarantees, but that's my intention. So yeah, I think it's just a little bit of pain for some really big gain going down the track. Yeah. I just will also, you know, I said about the why are we doing this? It's so we can make sure that whatever contracts we get with our government agencies, they're not based on widgets. You know, you've got to produce 10 of those and 5 of those and 7 of those. What we're trying to say to our funders and Ministry of Education and TUC in particular is, don't tell us how and where to spend the money. Give us the funding so we can support our communities. We know what our communities want, and here's the evidence, because we've got these regional priorities that we've identified. And we also know how the work that we do relates to meeting those regional priorities, but also meeting the government priorities. And that's the LSOs or the test priorities that we've set up. So the reason for doing this is not just to make reporting easy, it's to give us some really good evidence that you can have a funding system that is based on an investment into an organisation that works within a community, not based on X number of something being produced. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But so that's what I'm working towards, is making sure that our funding is flexible enough for us to be really responsive to meet our community needs and not be too prescriptive that we're limited as to what we can do within that funding. It's so we can be what our communities need us to be and respond to them. So that's sort of like the bigger picture that sits in behind this. So being able to say, look, we've actually got a system where we collect information and we can show that everything we do relates back to a regional community priority and a government priority, and here's the evidence, that puts us in a really, really strong position when we're asking for either more funding or new funding, regardless of the government agency or the organisation that we might be dealing with. So hopefully
Can I ask a question?
Yes, certainly.
Just a little while ago, someone said there was a REAPiT website with where this recording will be. What is that website and how do we access it?
I'll share the link and I'll get Tracy to send it out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything from anyone else? Elaine, is your head sore? Yeah, I think Elaine's now drinking vodka. Actually, I don't blame her at all. Yeah, all good. Okay, look, thanks everyone. I know you're really busy. Does anyone want to hang on for any one-on-one conversation before we go? Joss, yeah, cool. Yeah, Waity. All good. All right, hey.
Tracy and Tracy, well done.
Thank you, Kate.
Anytime, sister.
And hopefully I'll see most of you in a couple of weeks' time at conference. But hey. All good. Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.